Hey, how you doing? And today our lesson is going to be on what we call negative training. So, negative training. Well, what is that all about? Well, the fact is that all life is training. Your interface with your body's interface with the environment, with what it's with what the environment is demanding of you, is always training you. Your body is always adapting to whatever we're doing to it, to whatever activities we're doing. And so some of those are going to be intentional and some of those are going to be unintentional. And so we have to look at what effects that the environment is having on our body, as well as, of course, what our body's effect is having on the environment. And so we're going to look at different categories. We got the activities of daily living. We have to compare that to what did our ancestors do? What did they do versus what we're doing today? And our bodies are designed in one way. Are we doing that? And is that good? What's the similarity? And then we have, intentional development. And then we have what we call negative training. And we'll get to that and what effect that's having on our bodies. All right. So, number one, activities of daily living. Activities of daily living could be, you take a long walk. It could be you go to the, walking to the train. Maybe you live in a city that you get to walk a lot. I was over in Europe and we were over in Germany and, we walked all over the place. And I said, this would be wonderful. I'd love to do this in Los Angeles. And we got back to Los Angeles, tried it for like a minute and absolutely would not work. There was no way. But when we were in Munich and when we were in Italy and all that stuff, you're walking around all over the place, and that's just because of the way that the environment is designed, pre and post automobile. And so we have to take that in consideration. So we have to look at those activities of daily living and see if our environment if our interaction involving those activities is going to be positive for us or negative. Over in the European example, then that would have been very positive. We're just walking around all the time, walking from place to place, walking to get what you need. And here it's, probably a little bit more negative on our bodies while we're getting in our car for everything that we need anywhere. And so we need to recognize that. So we say, what did our ancestors do? Well, obviously, our ancestors, they walked a lot. They had to hunt, they had to gather, they had, do all that stuff. Even when farming came along, then they had to do a lot there. So they have physical activity going on that wasn't necessarily intentional in terms of designing the human body, but it is the thing that was going on for 250,000 years. And created our body's design in the way, as related to doing those activities, walking, running, rolling, all that kind of stuff. And so that's when we really think about that and we say, okay, our bodies, we walked and we rolled and we crawled and we swam and all that kind of stuff. And that's what our bodies were really designed to do. So intentional development is more in that space where we say, okay, well, how are we going to design our body intentionally? And so we're saying, okay, this is where we start working out. This is where we start training. Training is a little bit different than working out. We'll talk about that. Sometimes working out is more positive. We're always trying to be positive with it, but sometimes it's not so specific, and it might be having a negative impact instead of as positive as you want when we don't really look at it closely. And so intentional development, that's when we're strength training. That's when we're looking at the variables and we're saying, okay, how are we really going to develop our body, almost from an artist's point of view. And, artist's point of view, using those principles that we were just talking about how we interface with the environment. And so what's negative training? Negative training, some people don't recognize it as training, but sitting in a chair all day long. That's the biggest example of negative training other than driving. Driving might be the biggest problem on our bodies, in both metabolically and mechanically. Sitting there, we're shutting off certain muscle groups that should be working, and we are tightening muscle groups that shouldn't be tight, and we are not getting the impulses of walking and rolling and crawling and all that kind of stuff, that our body is meant to have in in another interface between our nervous system and our muscular system. And so when it's not getting that, we're creating these very, very bad patterns. Those very, very bad patterns are negative training. And so when we go into our intentional development, then we have to say, okay, well, how do we reverse that? And that is what restorative training is all about. It is about reversing that. And functional training is about building on top of that restoration, and building, strength on top of that. And, whether that's strength in our cardiovascular, whether that's strength in our muscles, that's what we want to do in relationship to how our body interfaces with that environment. And so I hope this was helpful today. I hope this concept helped you out. And, anyways, I will talk to you next time. Thank you.